What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, and I have a question. Is this thing on? I don't know. I'm a blind film critic, so I don't know what's on and what's not on all the time. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I don't know if this thing is on. What is this thing? I don't know. Is it on? Anyway, it's directed by Bradley Cooper and it stars Will Arnett, uh, Laura Dern, um, Bradley Cooper, Andrew Day, Kieran Hines, Christine Ebersol, Peyton Manning's in this. um, God, I mean, yeah, I think that's everybody else is kind of like a cameo or like continues to downstream from there. Even Kieran Hines and Christine Ebersol and Peyton Manning are just like blips in this. Kind of, it's sort of the leads, and then right below that, their best friend couple. Oh, Sean Hayes is in this too. It's got a pretty interesting cast. Bradley Cooper is one of the writers. This film has been largely ignored during award season, despite it being good. Uh, it's the thing is, it's not great. Like, it's not the best picture winner of the year. Um, it certainly is one of the more accessible titles of the year. This feels like the as good as it gets of the year. This feels like the film that hits, and if audiences respond to it, it gets the Oscar nomination. This feels like one of those like something's gotta gives, that kind of just breaks into the race. It doesn't have to necessarily be the most profound and dramatic work of the year, but it has a relatability factor. It has likable characters in it, and if an audience responds to it, then that's what would save it. So if Is This Thing On hits with an audience, that could be the last thing that could save it. And in terms of its campaign, would be audiences going, wait a minute. And before all the Oscar pundits are like, that's not never going to happen. It's Hidden Figures. So it is possible to take a film that is good and then elevate it to holy shit. Uh, I don't know that's gonna happen here. I don't know that Will Arnett and Laura Dern are enough to ignite that spark in an audience. But I think they'll be incredibly relatable for a lot of people who have struggled through maybe a marriage or relationship. Um, the film starts off with them being like they're just like brushing their teeth, and Dern just stops and goes, "So should we just call it?" And he just goes, "Yep." And what they're calling is divorce. Like, it's time. And we don't know anything about that. There's no buildup. There isn't a lot of like fighting and long drawn out. It's not like the Roses, or the War of the Roses, you know. It's very sort of genial, and even from that moment on, they don't really scream and fight and yell at each other. They have kind of calm conversations about, so should I go stay somewhere else? No, no, don't do that. And then the kids come out. Are you fighting? No, we're not fighting. Oh, that's right. You guys never fight. Like, um, it becomes sort of this conscious separation, of two people who I guess who both agreed that they were not happy simultaneously and sort of split. Um, Dern, it's definitely Will Arnett's movie. I know that Dern is running in lead, and a lot of that has to do with her being in, um, also in Jake Kelly, and eligible for supporting actress for that. But yeah, there's a gap. But also, I've heard, I mean, there are thoughts about, screen time, and I think she still has enough screen time to run in lead. It just would not be. It's not where Will Arnett's character is. You definitely follow Will Arnett's character more than you do Dern's. It doesn't equally divide them. So, although we do spend a little bit of time with Dern, it's a little dabbled, but this is more like a 60-40 type of thing. There's clearly focus and favor on one because it's Arnett's story that really sparks the whole movie. He goes off and he wants to get a drink one night, and he stumbles into, well, he finds a bar, but there's a cover charge, and he's like, I don't have any money on like cash, I guess, to get into the bar. I guess he probably has like a credit card or Apple Pay or whatever. I don't know. But he can't get in because he doesn't have the cash to pay the cover, and he sees somebody else getting in for free, and he's like, well, what about her? She just walked in, and he's like, well, she signed up to, you know, go up on stage. So, so he signs up, figuring, whatever, sort of like, I guess if I thinking probably it's like a karaoke thing, like if I sing a song, I get to be here for free. Um, and being game for it. And he ends up in a microphone, and he's really bad at first because he's not actually a stand-up comedian, and he doesn't really know what to do. And then he just kind of starts talking, and he starts complaining about his life, and the more comfortable that he gets, the funnier he gets. And he comes back and he does it again, and he keeps getting better and funnier and responding, and then actually sort of turns into a comic. But he's musing and lamenting about his life and his divorce and his relationship with his wife and all of the problems, and what this whole process has been like. And he's using this as like catharsis, like therapy almost. So the that's kind of the film, is he becomes okay and works his stuff out on stage, and the audience listens to him. And Dern, meanwhile, her life has her own uh, positive encouragements. I try to avoid major spoilers for her character. She's the one, she starts dating, she's the one who is the reason why Peyton Manning is here. She dates Peyton Manning for like a hot second. Um, so he's in the movie for, I don't know, 5 minutes, uh, for Peyton Manning fans. So, but she gets like a career opportunity booster, and the film is thrown a little bit into a mix when one night, she stumbles in and sees the act. And he didn't realize that they were there, and he just does the act as is and complains and everything. And um, how does that reshape things? That's where the film goes from there. And I liked it. I like this movie. I think it's interesting. I think it's intriguing. And Bradley Cooper has a very sort of interesting take on separation and divorce. And these characters, they don't feel like we've seen them before. They feel like somehow, even though we've seen like 1,000 divorce movies before, that these somehow are just slightly different than the 1,000 other people who have been divorced before. Arnett and Dern have a very interesting chemistry and dynamic between the two of them that gets to play out, and Cooper doesn't make the obvious choices throughout the film. He makes a lot of um, more difficult, more, I guess you could say, modern choices that I really liked. He and Andra Day play the married best friends to these characters, and even Arnett and Dern's relationship ends up sort of downstream affecting them. And it's interesting to see how like Bradley Cooper's character evolves over the course of the film, and Andra Day's character, and even their marriage, and how seeing Arnett and Dern working their shit out really sort of encourages them to maybe work their shit out also. Um, so I liked it. I like this movie. Um, it's not my favorite movie of the year. I've seen a couple of films that I think are like profound, but this is one of those films where it's like, man, when I finish out my top 25, actually giving those spots, when I have to cut to get to like that, it's gonna be tough. Because this is one of those films that's down there. It's like, I don't know, is it gonna make it? Is it gonna make the cut? How much should I really love this movie? Um, Sometimes the distance and everything from a film really tells me how much I love it. as time passes. But I think people will like this. I think you'll like this. It's got to be the best performance of Will Arnett's career in terms of, because he's actually sort of given dramatic work that he's not really been given before. Um, he's had some really great performances though, and he has dabbled. Like we've seen him push into sort of like a dark comedic type fashion before, a little bit like what Bill Hader does, where you can see the acting is there. It's not so far removed. It's not like suddenly it's like Tom Green and Laura Dern, and you're like, what? ¿Por qué? um, yeah. Uh, it's not somebody who has pretty much lived their entire life in comedy suddenly trying to balance it. No, Will Arnett has shown a little bit of that side to him. I think Tom Green probably has too, and somebody's gonna comment that and be like, "Did you know he was in the ensemble of Dune?" Like, I don't know. Um, I just picked him because I'm never gonna not forget Freddy Got Fingered. It's just one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life, and it's permanently ingrained in my brain. Fun story. I screened that. I used to work in movie theaters, and we used to do evening screenings. You're gonna get this quick story, and for why I remember Freddy Got Fingered. And I was the projectionist that was assigned the screening, but it was an employee screening, so other employees were allowed to be there. And it was a popular movie because Tom Green was popular at the time. And I think pretty much the whole staff was there. We started off with like somewhere between like 15 to 20. And it was me and my friend were left by the end of the movie. Everyone else had walked out. Everyone else had left. And my friend was like, I can't leave you here. And I was like, thank you. Because I had to stay to make sure that the print played through. So I had to watch Freddy Got Fingered from start to finish to make sure that there wasn't a problem with the print back in the day with real film. So it was the largest mass exodus I've ever seen in a film. Like personally, like experienced, of like an audience just getting up and leaving and being like, no. So, and that's like forever in my brain. Anyway, back to this. You should see, is this thing on? Um, I think it's a wonderful fresh take on this tired formula. You know, this, oh God, they're getting a divorce. Oh, it's not going to be like any other divorce. it's, they're going to do it differently. They're going to be responsible. You know, and there's also the other side of that where it's like, oh, it's going to be a terrible divorce. It's going to be a knockdown, drag out, beat each other up, blow shit up, burn each other to the ground. Someone's getting shot in the head type of divorce. It's not that either. Um, but it is very interesting how they navigate it, and I enjoyed their performances. I don't know that anybody's going to make my lists because their competition is tough in lead. And even in supporting Bradley and Andra, but man, I like this cast. So that's the ensemble. Um, I want to give it something somewhere. This is a film that's so odd because it's like I liked it enough, and I'm like, where do I give this an award? Somewhere. Where do I nominate this? Because I can't imagine not putting this anywhere. Um, but I can kind of understand why this has languished a little bit. Um, because it is one of those films that is really good, but not obviously the best. I don't think this is anybody's number one film of the year, but I wouldn't be surprised to see this on top tens. It wouldn't surprise me, but I don't think anybody's going to go to bat and put this at number one. Kudos to that critic who actually connected with this on a spiritual level to be able to put it there. But for me, for Is This Thing On, I think it's smart. I think it shows depth in Cooper's continuing evolution of his directorial style, proving that he's a little bit like the late Rob Reiner, in that I know that that's a tall order. People are immediately like, what the fuck did you just say? Hold on. His movies are wildly different in terms of tone and style and what he's been able to do with them. Um, and that's the thing, is that Reiner was able to navigate all these different styles. He didn't just do one thing, and do one thing well. There have been some directors who really can only do one thing, and even when they try to do the other thing, they do the other thing poorly. Uh, so, like they step outside their typical genre, and you're like, oh, please don't go back to your genre. Never mind, we didn't need this. So, um, but yeah, he's continuing to push himself into new territory as a director. I'm intrigued as to where he'll go next as a director, and I think that's a good thing. He doesn't need to be nominated for everything. I don't think every director has ever been nominated for everything that they've ever directed. I don't think that's a thing. So, and he already has like a ton of Oscar nominations from being like a producer, actor, director. So, writer. Is this thing on? Yes, it is. I'm going to give it an 8.4 out of 10. I think you'll like this movie, but I also would agree it's not going to win Best Picture. And I don't know what I would do with this movie in an awards campaign for Fox Searchlight. I would have pushed really hard, really early because of the categories that are divided between drama and comedy. And I think it's weird that they submitted this in drama at the Oscars. I think that's odd. But then again, I also think it's odd that Marty Supreme and One Battle After Another were in comedy. So it's odd. Like, why was this in drama? It has a literal stand-up comic. Like, he has scenes where he does like stand-up comedy routines, and then you watch other stand-up comics. I laughed more in this than I did in those other films. So, which did have bursts of humor, but I think this is consistently darker and funnier than the other films. And I think the reason why it didn't show up at the Globes is because it ran in drama. So, which is bizarre, just utterly bizarre to me. So anyway, that's it. That's what I got. So I guess it's because the other films were obviously like Rental Family and Testament of Anne Lee and Fox Searchlight was like, we can't have all three movies in our comedy. Somebody's got to be sacrificed. Whatever. I don't understand. But thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.